Welcome back to the Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. If you noticed last week, Don Haney had a story at KFGO.com talking about M-State Moorhead announcing cannabis certificate programs. And I immediately thought, well, of course, this is going to be big business for the state of Minnesota. This makes total and complete sense. And so I reached out and I was able to get in touch with someone from Green Flower, which will be putting on these courses. And on the line with us right now, I have Max Simon, who is Green Flower's CEO. Max, welcome to the Mighty 790.
Really happy to be here with you.
Okay, so first and foremost, 20 years ago, I can't really imagine this being a possibility, certainly not to bring into our little M-State right here in Moorhead. And now you must have colleges, universities, and tech schools calling you every single day because this is 21st century business.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive. I think the cannabis industry, after over almost 100 years of prohibition and misinformation, is making a comeback. And now it's becoming a real industry that has lots of potential for careers and jobs and entrepreneurial pursuits. And it's a product people love. It's safer than alcohol. And so it's an exciting time to be powering the workforce development of this new industry.
Minnesota State Community and Technical College right here in Moorhead is the latest school in the state to offer these cannabis certificate programs. Students can earn certificates in, it looks like, cultivation, retail, extraction, and product development. Each online program is 9 weeks and will cost $750. Okay, Max, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what these programs are going to provide to students.
Yeah. So despite what people might believe, the cannabis industry is actually quite complex. It's got very complex rules to grow the product. It takes a lot of skill set to be able to understand all the different product types. And so these new programs are designed to really give people the knowledge and the skills and the credibility needed in each of the areas of the cannabis industry. So we start with the cultivation program because you have to learn how to grow the plants commercially, and that's what the 9-week cultivation specialist program is about. Then we move into the product development and extraction program, and that's because once you grow the product, you want to learn how to turn it into chocolates and edibles and tinctures and topicals. And so that program walks you through the skills needed to create these products. And then once the products are made, they need to be sold. And so the retail program trains you on how to interface with customers, how to understand cannabis retail operations. And so it's really a kind of choose your own adventure, which part of the cannabis industry you want to be a part of, but they're all 100% online programs and led by industry experts.
So let's say that we have somebody, an investor, who says, "Listen, I want to get in on this, right? I want to open up some kind of retail shop in Minnesota. Once all the licensing and everything's figured out, they look for someone who has a certificate in your program, then, right? So if they say, "Listen, I want to invest, but I don't have the knowledge," you're essentially making it possible to have that workforce ready to go.
That's right. And people do take these programs for all sorts of different reasons. In fact, lots of times entrepreneurs are the ones taking these programs because they may know a lot about business, but they don't know anything about the cannabis industry. And so, yeah, we attract people that are looking to get jobs, looking to start businesses, or even just looking for that personal enrichment. And that's why I think it's such an exciting time, is when you have a subject matter that has been so stigmatized and misunderstood for so long, but now it's making a comeback. There's a lot to learn.
And really, you're hitting the nail on the head, because I know that there's plenty of people, especially in this region, who still don't 100% understand the cannabis industry, and certainly, would vote against it if given the option. But this does take away that stigma. I mean, it makes it, for lack of a better word, a little more clinical, a little more scientific.
That's right. Yeah. And, the part of the thing that we love teaching about is the science and the understanding of the factual information. So, for example, people are often very surprised to hear that the safety profile of cannabis is more like caffeine, even less so like alcohol or other drugs. And so, when you start to learn about the medicinal properties, you learn about the safety profile, or you learn about how it interacts in the body, all things that are taught in these programs, it's easy for people to change their minds, because maybe they realize, what I was told about this, or maybe some of the misinformation actually isn't valid. It's not true. And when you look at it from a more scientific perspective, a more educational perspective, it's easier to get on board with what this new industry is building and why it's such an exciting time.
Max Simon is with us, Green Flower CEO. They're providing the education on cannabis. And also, Max, can I take a quick step back? Okay, so this last August, St. Cloud State in Minnesota announced that they would be teaming up with you to provide these courses. How are things going at St. Paul State, or St. Cloud State, excuse me?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I have to say the response from Minnesota, from both the educational standpoint as well as the students and the community, has been overwhelmingly positive. We've had literally hundreds and hundreds of inquiries and people sign up for the programs. And there's just a lot of excitement about this new industry that's being birthed because Minnesota really took a good way of approaching the regulations, and it's very kind of friendly to the industry and safe for consumers. And so I just think it's a very exciting time for the Minnesota cannabis industry that's being born overnight and will become, a billion-dollar industry over time. It will generate thousands and thousands of jobs, and it's going to provide a great service to people looking for, plant medicine.
And excuse my ignorance on this, but can Green Flower team up with universities in states that have not legalized recreational marijuana?
Yeah, we have. In fact, for example, in Wisconsin, we have a partnership, and we have a partnership in Louisiana that has a very restricted new medical market. And so, the thing about education is that it's about enlightening people to what's the truth and giving people direction. And that it works everywhere right now because the cannabis industry is so new, and really there is so much to learn.
So let's say someone's listening to this and they're saying, gosh, I would like to take one of these courses. Do you have to be enrolled at an institute of higher learning, or do you offer anything that's just for the general public to take online?
Yeah, the thing I love about these programs is that they're offering through the continuing education departments, which does mean you don't actually have to be a student enrolled in the university. They're basically available to anybody who's 18 and older and has an internet connection.
Oh, that's awesome. Well done. Okay, I want to ask one more question before we go, which is a kind of a loaded question, but do you you're in the industry, so I assume you're going to say yes, but the future of cannabis as far as a retail product, there's no end to this runway, right?
Oh, we're just getting started. And not only that, but as, the federal government changes its stance on cannabis, we're right knocking on the edge of the door of real federal reform. You're going to see an industry that's gone from basically being underground or extremely highly regulated to a mainstream industry where you'll be able to buy these products in multiple outlets and have them in different forms and use them for different purposes. And so somebody says, oh, it's too late, they're just thinking too short-sighted. The truth is we're still very early in this game, and we have immense potential for growth and scale and adoption ahead.
I've got a couple friends, and we were recently talking, and we said, you remember the craft beer boom? There is definitely a world where, we talk about cannabis tourism and smaller operations and things like that, where people essentially do the same thing that the craft beer boom did, but with cannabis instead. Do you see that as a possibility?
It hasn't even really started yet. That's exactly the point. When you look at other substances that we've accepted and adopted in our society, whether it be alcohol or caffeine or any of these other kinds of things, you'll see that, it's a big industry that has lots of adoption, and cannabis hasn't even really started yet. So that's why it's still so early, and there's still so much potential for opportunity.
Max Simon has been with us, Green Flower CEO. If you missed the news last week, M-State has announced that they're partnering with Green Flower to be the educational provider with instruction and training. You can go to their website and find out more information. You can also go to green-flower.com and read all about this company that has been on with us right now. Max, thank you so much for the time and the update on what you're doing to educate people across the country.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for sharing the story.